Do you know that most visa rejections to Australia are because of very minute mistakes that we make as immigrants? 99% of the time, when your visa is denied, it is because you omitted one very simple thing. Now, through my videos, I've helped a lot of immigrants migrate to Australia with simple information. And today I'm going to tell you 7 common mistakes that immigrants make that cause their visas to be denied. Topping that list will be incomplete or incorrect documentation. Now, I know that a lot of people are very enthusiastic and excited to apply for their visa. They feel like they have everything it takes. They feel like they have all their check down. However, the way you apply for your visa or the documents you present can either make or mar you. You might have all it takes. You might have all the documents down, but have they been properly scrutinized and have they been properly checked to see that they meet the requirements of the Department of the Home Affairs? That is one question you need to ask yourself. Many immigrants rush to process and they forget to present essential documents like your proper bank statements, your certified documentations. And by certified documentations, I mean like documents that are JP approved, Justice of Peace approved. If you're here in Australia, you know that there are certain things you need to do that are relating to maybe your legal stay or school or work, that they will tell you that you need to certify it at a JP. They need the certified copy of that document. Now imagine you being overseas. They need even more authenticity of those documents, if that makes sense. So all the documents you're submitting has to be authentic. They have to be certified. They have to show that they came from the most reliable source. It is very easy for people to go to the internet and get fake documents that do not belong to them simply because you're trying to, get into a country. At the Department of the Home Affairs, they are not oblivious to this. They are not stupid. They know those things. They know the things that are in the internet. So for you to be able to stand a better chance, you need to make sure that all your documents are authentic. They are certified as much as possible. Still speaking on incomplete and incorrect documentations, the Department of Home Affairs want to see that you have a strong tie back home. So say, for example, you're coming to school. They know you're coming to study. If your course is maybe a 2 or 3 years duration, they know that after your school, they want you to go back home. They don't want you to stay, even though half the time people end up staying because you get a better job. You appreciate Australia better, or maybe when you were coming, you did not believe that Australia will be as amazing and as homely as you would have thought. And half the time people end up trying to go further by seeking permanent residency and all that. But in the initial time when you're applying for those visas, they don't know this, right? They don't know. All they want you to show them is that you have a strong tie back home. Now, speaking of strong ties, this could be having a job that will take you back home, having something that would call you back home after you finish. I remember when I was applying for my visa, at the time I was working at my uncle's company and they had promised that they were going to, give me a higher position after I finished my master's here in Australia. So it was something I was excited about, and I put it in my statement of purpose, telling the Department of Home Affairs that I am very, very interested in going back to my home country because I have the opportunity to, take a leadership role and get more money. So they were very much aware that there was something substantial waiting for me back home after I finished my master's degree. Now, this is a typical example of what the Department of Home Affairs want to see. They want to see that you are enthusiastic about going back home. They don't want you to come and stay in their country. So, like I said, even though half the time we know that this may not always be the case, some people come into Australia and their skill is so much in high demand that they get a job almost immediately after graduation, and the job is even willing to sponsor them to stay. This may be the case, but like I said, in the beginning, while you're doing that application, they don't know this. Okay, so you need to give them 1001 reason why they should give you that visa, and one of which is that you're going back to your home country once you're done schooling. In order for you to avoid flimsy mistakes that people make while applying for their visa, you need to go to the Department of the Home Affairs, their main website. I'm going to attach it in the description below so that just in case you do not have an idea of where to go to get the correct information of all the documents that you need to provide, The Department of the Home Affairs is your one-stop for all this information. There you get the authentic information, you get the most updated version as well, because sometimes they update this information and it changes from time to time. So the information you got 3 years ago or 2 years ago would definitely not be applicable in 2025. So you need to make sure that you're up to speed with what the Department of Home Affairs are requesting for at that point in time. So I'm going to attach it, like I said, in the description below so that you can go there and get all the information you need. As important as it is that you're working with an agent, because I know half the time we want to use an agent because we feel like they're very knowledgeable, we feel like they know it all, they've done this time and time again, so therefore they know the ropes. That is very understandable. But however, as an individual who is applying to go to a country that you've probably never been to before, a country that you don't even know how they operate, it is important that you do your own research. And by doing your own research, it still boils down to going back to the official website of the Department of Home Affairs to make sure that you know every single thing. Sometimes whatever your agent tells you might contradict what you see in the official website of the Department of Home Affairs. That's when you have those conversations and be like, say for example, they're telling you, oh, you need to bring your secondary school certificate, and your agent says, oh, it's not necessary. You want to put it, even though they tell you it's not necessary, put it there. It's better you have too much information than not have sufficient information, because they can deny your visa on that ground, and half the time you're not going to be given the opportunity to appeal or to reapply again. Moving on to the second most common reasons why immigrants get rejected for their application is poor or insufficient financial evidence. Guys, I cannot overemphasize the importance. I'm stretching on overemphasize because your financial document is as important as the reason why they're giving you that visa. Showing a correct and proper proof of fund can either make that visa work or get you denied at an instance. I had a friend who was denied because they felt like she couldn't cater for herself when she comes to Australia, and their reasons are valid. You need to show them that you're more than capable of taking care of yourself, whether or not you get a job, because for them, they assume you're not going to work. As a student, they believe you're coming here to study strictly, and they believe that whatever you're showing them in your bank statement should be able to cater for all your needs, your school fees, your accommodation, your feeding, miscellaneous for the duration of the time you're studying. If you're doing a 2-year course or a 3-year course or even a 4-year course, your bank statement should be able to cover all that expenses. Now, when they look at it and they do their plus and minus and they are not convinced, they see that your evidence is not substantial, that's a big denial right there, because they feel like you don't have what it takes to take care of yourself. And one thing you should know about Australia is that they do not tolerate nuisance. They do not want you to be a burden to their system or to their economy. Do you get what I mean? They don't want you to come and you're begging or you're stranded. That's the last thing they want you to come and do in their country, okay? So they want you to show beyond reasonable doubt, emphasis on beyond reasonable doubt, that you can do bad all by yourself, if you know what I mean. One of the most important things that the Department of Home Affairs looks into critically when looking at your proof of fund is how that money came about. A lot of visa applicants make the mistake of just carrying a whole lump sum of money and putting into their accounts and thinking, oh, because it's $10,000 or $10 billion or $100 billion, so therefore it's enough to convince the department that you have what it takes. That's a big no. That is a very, very big deny right there. They don't want to see that the money is there. They want to see how the money got there. Okay, so what that means is, say for example, you're traveling abroad. You create an account, or your sponsor who is sponsoring you has an account. They want to assume that that person has been using that account for either business transactions or personal transactions for a very long time. So they want to see the progress of the inflow and outflow of income in that account. So it's not a case of, oh, there's $10 billion. It's a case of, how often was money being put in that account? What was that money for? Do you get what I mean? So all these things are things they want to see. The progressive income. They want to see that the account is transactional. They want to see that money is going in and coming out of that account as frequently as possible. It's not about just having that money there. Even if it's your savings account, they want to see that money keeps coming into that account. Even if it's a business account, they want to see that transactions are going and coming. That way, it just shows that it's real, it's genuine, and it's not fake. Now, in a situation where you have a sponsor, you're not the one sponsoring yourself, because half the time it's either someone is sponsoring you or you're sponsoring yourself. If you know that you're coming into Australia as a established business owner, you have your own business or you have your own thing running for yourself and you want to sponsor yourself, this also applies to you. They want to see that that account is very functional. They want to see the inflow and outflow of income. They want to see that things are really going progressively for you. Even if there is a debit, they want to see that there's a debit. They want to see there's a credit. Like I said, very real and authentic. These are the things that the departments are looking out for. And in a case where you have a sponsor, somebody sponsoring you, now in this case, it becomes dicey. Why do I say that? When you're applying for your visa, I'm sure your agent would also tell you the person that is sponsoring you is very important. It's a very strong determinant as to whether they're going to approve that visa or deny it. Okay, so say for example, your brother, your elder brother, or your sister is sponsoring you, or maybe your father or your mother, your parents, and you both bear the same surname. It will be easier for them to link that person to you because you answer the same surname. In a case where you and this person do not share the same name or the same tie as a family, you have to go the extra mile to provide evidence, documents to show that you're related. Do you get what I mean? Because it can be easily assumed that you went to go and get bank statement from God knows where to present to the department simply because you want to get a visa. Like I said before, these people are not stupid. They've been into this business for years and years and years, and they know that people go over and beyond to do stupid things just to get visa. So again, it is worthy of note to speak to your agent to ask them if you are in the category of people that have sponsors that don't have direct ties. It is worthy of note to ask your agent the best way to go about it. What supporting documents you need to be able to prove beyond reasonable doubt to the Department of Home Affairs that this person is genuine, this person is happy to sponsor you, this person is happy to cater for all your needs throughout your stay in Australia. Okay. An additional tip will be for you to use that same account you use for your proof of funds to make all your payments. So from your visa application to your school fees, to your medicals, they want to see that you're making all that payment through that account. That's why it's called a proof of fund, right? If you have an account and you say, okay, this is where all your money is, they want to believe that that's where your school fees will come from, that's where your medical fee will come from, and same goes to your sponsor. If you're using a sponsor, they want to assume that your sponsor is also the one paying your school fees. Like, that's why it's called a sponsor. So whatever they're paying for should come from that account that you've shown to the department that your sponsor has, if that makes sense. All these things come together to help make your application very authentic and true beyond reasonable doubt. Not telling a genuine and convincing story in your statement of purpose can be one of the most important reasons why your visa is denied as an immigrant. Now, a lot of people think that you can just go there and write gibberish because you know how to write, or you're very eloquent and you're very, very literate and you can write. That's not what your SOP is about. SOP means statements of purpose. I'll be using the abbreviation, okay? Your SOP is an opportunity to convince the Department of Home Affairs beyond reasonable doubt why they should give you that visa. Like I said, half the time people lie in their SOP because you feel like you want to convince them you're just speaking English and they won't read it. That's a big lie. That is a fat lie. If your agent told you that, please disregard that information. They read it line by line, words by words. So what that means is when you're writing your SOP, first things first, do not contradict yourself. Do not say what you do not mean. Do not say what is not right. Do not, do not give false information, because these people, like I said before, they are not stupid. They've been doing this business for a very long time. So they can smell ingenuity from a distance. So writing your SOP is an opportunity to be very genuine, to tell them from the depths of your heart the reason why you're coming to Australia, what are your expectations, what you're looking to do. All these things are very important. Like I said, they are a strong determinant as to whether or not you get that visa grant. This year, the Department of Home Affairs have made things a little different and tricky. Now, this is a bonus for all you that are looking to migrate to Australia in 2025. Your SOP is no longer just written, it is now also oral. What that means is after you write your SOP, after you write it and submit it to them, they're going to book an interview with you. This is so recent. This is like a latest update that people do not know. After you write your SOP and submit it to them, they're going to call you, schedule you for an interview, a one-on-one interview, where you now tell them Now, half the time is through the school. So for some institutions, it depends on the school you're trying to apply to. Half the time is the school that will call you to have a one-on-one interview to discuss your statement of purpose, or GTE, as the case may be. But it's going to be an interview where you get to sit down with them and they will ask you. Imagine you lied in your SOP and you said all sorts of gibberish that you do not remember, and they're asking you face to face and you're stuttering. Do you think they're going to be convinced enough to give you that visa? That's a question you need to ask yourself. So writing your SOP, you need to be as convincing and as truthful as possible. If you're telling the truth, you can repeat that truth 10 times, no matter the situation or the circumstance. But if you're telling a lie, you will forget the lie you told last week and you will say something different. And that way they will know that you're not being genuine. Okay? So save yourself all that hassle and just be as truthful and as honest as possible. A very important tip for writing your SOP is to link your career and your future plans to that SOP. So whatever you're writing, whatever it is, even if you're trying to be as expressive and as convincing as possible, make sure whatever you're saying is linking back to the purpose for which you're coming to Australia, and how whatever your plans are going to affect your career positively. Okay, so say for example you're saying, oh, you're coming here to study international business, yada yada yada. That's beautiful. So how does studying international business affect your career? How does it take you back home to be a better person? How would coming to Australia to do your master's degree, how would it affect you positively? How would it impact in your life? How would it help your career growth? All these things are things they want to see. So it's not just about coming to Australia, it's about knowing that at the end of the day, it's for the greater good of both the country that is receiving you and the country you're going back to. Moving on to the fourth most common reasons why immigrants' visas are denied is applying for the wrong type of visa or the wrong visa. So if you're a tourist and you know in your heart of your heart that you want to come and work, apply for a work visa. Get all the documentations and all the requirement that is needed to apply for a work visa, and apply for a work visa. If you tell them you're coming as a tourist, meanwhile the intention is to come here and work, they will fish you out because they know your intent. They see through your intentions. 99% of the time, you're not going to get away with it. So why not be honest from the get-go? Just so you know, there are 1,001 visa types in Australia, although there are very few ones that are very common. One of which is the student visa, which is the subclass 500. A lot of immigrants come through school because, number one, they want to study. Number two, is the fastest way to come to Australia. Number three, it's more considerable because they know that you have a sole intention to come and study and become better. The second visa type is skilled migration, which is the subclass 189 or subclass 190, and that is the work visa I talked about earlier. If you want to come to Australia to work, you have a skill that is of high demand. For example, you're a nurse, you're a social worker, you're an engineer, you're a teacher, you're an IT. These skills are very much in high demand here in Australia. If you have the skills and you feel like you want to come here and work, again, go back to the Department of Home Affairs, look through their requirements and know what is expected of you, what is required of you. Half the time you'll be required to get an assessment, a skilled assessment in your field. So say for example you're a teacher, they want to see that your assessing body has already assessed you competent enough to be able to practice as a teacher. They want to see all those documents. So if you're coming in through the subclass 189 or 190, there are a bunch of requirements that you need to meet for you to be able to eligible to get into the pool and then get nominated afterwards. All these things are things you need to enlighten yourself on and know why exactly you're coming into Australia. The third visa type is the visitor/tourist visa, which is the subclass 600. Now this is for people that are coming to see their siblings, their family. You're coming to enjoy, you're coming to just ball. Okay, you're not coming to work, you're not coming to make money, you're just coming to tour. 99% of the time they're going to give you a 12-month visa. It's usually not more than 12 months. It could be 3 months, 6 months, or 12 months. Okay, and within this time frame you're not allowed to work, you're not allowed to be found doing certain kind of activities, because again, they believe you're here to spend time with your family or you're here to explore the beauty of Australia. Okay, so whichever visa type you're going for, be it the student visa, be it the work class visa, be it the tourist visa, or even other visas that I have not mentioned today, make sure you explicitly tell them the reason why you're coming to Australia and provide the relevant documents. When you go to the official website of the Department of the Home Affairs, you're going to see all the requirements that are needed for you to be able to come into Australia with the visa type you're looking to get. Okay, all these requirements are requirements that you need to meet in order for you to be able to get a visa. One of the reasons why people use migration agents to apply for their visas is because there are some mistakes that the agents already have seen in the past and they will correct. But again, like I said, while you're you're even doing this, it is very important that you do your own research and make sure that you're doing the right thing. Make sure that you're getting the right visas, okay? Whether you're coming as a student, as a skilled worker, or as a tourist, your visa can be denied. It doesn't matter. As long as you're not doing the right things, your visa can be denied. And ignoring the GTE requirement is also another reason why immigrants get denied when applying to come to Australia. The word GTE means genuine temporary entrance. Now, the word genuine there is actually genuine. They want to see the reason, like I said before, they want to see the reason why you're coming to Australia. Whatever you're writing has to be as genuine as possible. So there is a statement of purpose and there is a GTE. It's very important for these two to be completed. Usually, the GTE is for the school and the SOP is for immigration. However, in 2025, they've changed things a little bit, and now both the GTE and the SOP are now very strictly scrutinized by the immigration because they don't want any mistakes. Under your GTE, you need to show strong family ties, like I mentioned before. You need to show whether you're going back to do your business, whether you're going back to continue your career path, whether you're going back to whatever it is you're going back to do. In your GTE, you need to clearly state it. Your genuine reason for coming into Australia, how long you're staying, what you're going to be doing while you're there, what your intentions are, who you're staying with, what support, family support you have. If you have a brother, a sister, a cousin that lives in Australia already, are you going to be staying with them? How are they going to be supporting you? What is your role? What are your finances? How do you intend to keep up? Where's your head at, your mental state? Are you enthusiastic about coming to Australia? All these things are things they want to see in your GTE. And as crazy as it might sound, every single detail is very, very important. It's better for you to write a lot than not write enough. Okay, a very important mistake that immigrants make when applying for a visa is not using the right agent or not even using an agent at all. If you've not been to Australia before, you don't know anything. I'm saying it with all humility and respect. You don't know anything. No matter what you see on the internet, no matter what you see in the official website of the Department of Home Affairs, you also need somebody to explain these things to you explicitly. You need someone to break it down to you understand. So say, for example, you're a family of 3 coming into Australia. Your bank statement as a family of 3 will be way higher than somebody who is a family of 1 or a family of 2 coming into Australia. Now, it is the duty of your agent to explain all these very minor and minute things to you. This will help you avoid very silly mistakes, very little and trivial oversights. Okay, a lot of people think that you can DIY everything. Quite all right, you can, but when it comes to applying for a visa, I promise you don't want to risk that. When it comes to applying for a visa, you don't want to DIY yourself into getting visa rejections. You want to be able to use the best hands to get you the best results, and that's why a lot of people use agencies. And as much as I recommend agencies, I also recommend you doing your research. So imagine your agent is doing his and you're also doing your research. You guys are most likely to cross all the T's and dot all the I's. Okay, there will be no room for mistakes. There will be no room for silly, trivial mistakes that could cost you your visa, if that makes sense. If you're unsure of what agency to use for your visa application, there are lots of registered migration agents online. You can go online and check. All agencies that work with schools in Australia have their registrations. Most schools in Australia do not work with agents that are not registered. So what that means is there is a room for you to check whether they're authentic or not. I know there are a lot of fake agents out there and people have been duped of millions and millions of dollars and naira because they're trying to migrate. It is very important that you check and be sure that that agent is genuine, they have their registration, and they know what they are doing. Also, you want to also check and see their track record, people that they have done for, So I don't recommend you using an agent that you haven't seen their evidence, if that makes sense. Okay, you want to use an agent that you've seen who they've done for and how successful that has been. If possible, contact that person and ask them their review. Oh, you used Mr. A. How was Mr. A? How was his company? How was the communication? How was the visa process? How was everything? You want to check and be sure that these people are genuine. You want to make sure that they have a track record of high success rates before you use them. This is what you have not to say that not all agents does Australian visas. You can get agents that do UK, US, Canada, but they do not have strong ties or strong connections to do Australian visas. Okay, you need to make sure that whichever agent you're using, they have done Australia time and time again. You want to look at the schools they are affiliated with. That is, if you're coming through as a student, you want to see all the schools they are affiliated with. 99% of the time, for an agent to be able to do an Australian visa, they must have strong affiliates. They must have strong relationship and even be on a commission with different schools here in Australia. At least 2 to 3 schools here in Australia. They need to show you the track record of the schools they work with. Those schools have to acknowledge that they are working under them, because that way, if these agents are applying to you, they would prioritize you because they know you're coming from one of their agents. If that makes sense, okay? So all these things are things you need to be very, very wary of. Again, I do not recommend you do your visas yourself because you do not have an idea, especially when you're offshore. If you're onshore, is different because obviously you know the system, you've been here, you've done that, you know everything's happening. But if you're offshore, you need to get a reliable agent and do what you need to do. I remember when I was coming to Australia, I had a very, very reliable agent. He was so good, he knew everything he was doing. But he forgot to tell me, or should I say, he did not know to tell me that I'll be needing a driver's license. Okay. Mind you, I was already driving Nigeria, but I didn't think it necessary that I was going to come with my Nigerian license because I thought maybe when I come here, I have to get a different license. He didn't tell me that. When I came to Australia, I struggled because I didn't bring my license. I had to start calling my partner to, arrange for my license to be shipped to me just so that I can be able to drive. I said all this to say that your agent is not a know-it-all. He or she doesn't know it all. There are certain omissions and mistakes that they're going to make in the line of their work or in the process of trying to get you your visa. That's why it's very, very important for you to do your research. Like I said, make sure that you're crossing all your T's and dotting all your I's, okay? The last on my list today will be submitting fake documents and false information. Guys, this is the height of it all. In all you do, I say it again, in all you do, make sure all the documents you submit are as genuine as possible. I'll tell you a story. So someone I know applied for a visa 2 years ago. Before she applied for this Australian visa, she wanted to come in as a student. Before she applied, she got denied in US. Okay, she got denied. So in the application, there is a place where they are going to ask you, have you ever been denied visa in any other country? And she said no. And that was the mistake. So mind you, her bank statement was up to date. Everything was check, everything was top notch. But because she lied in that column, her visa was denied. Now, just in case you don't know, Australia shares the same database with all the countries of the world that you can think of. Any country in this world that you can think of, Australia shares the same database with them, likewise other countries. So say, for example, you get denied in Australia and you go to the US, they already know that Australia denied you. You don't need to lie about it because they already know. They just want you to tell them the truth and the reason why you were denied. They already know all this thing. It's already in their documents. So it turns out that when she applied and she lied, they replied and said your visa has been denied on so ground, on so time, so year. You applied for a US visa and you were denied because of so reasons. So they told her the things she thought they did not know. Okay, so there's no need to lie about it. And it was on that ground that her visa got denied. And guess what? It did not just come with a denial, it came with a 2-year ban from applying for Australian visa. Is that not the height of heartbreak? Why would you want to go through such pain when you can just tell the truth and let the truth lead? I know that sometimes when you tell the truth, you may or may not get that visa, depending on the reason why that country denied you. Okay, if you went to do fraudulent activity or you were jailed and you were deported, obviously no country will want to open their doors to you because you had a bad track record. But if it was a case of you applying for a visa and getting denied because they did not see you competent or because one flimsy excuse, then it is not enough ground for them not to grant you a visa. Okay, so this happened to somebody very close to me and it was such an eye-opener. And I always tell people, be as genuine as possible. Every single information. If you do not know, speak to your agent so that they will clarify that question and you give them the best reasonable answer. And if afterwards you still do not know, it's better to answer not sure. That way it's tentative. You're not lying, you're just not sure. And that way you're playing safe because at the end of the day, what is important is getting your visa granted. And it's also worthy of note to say that every single information you provide during your visa application is verifiable. Your bank statement is verifiable. The Australian government has access to a site where they can check your bank statement in whatever country you are in. If you have a bank, if you say you put your money in so bank in so country, the Australian government has access to check if truly that money is there. Okay, so every single information you provide is verifiable. You need to know that you're dealing with a very developed country, and as much as they want to give you that visa, they don't want you to come into their country and be a nuisance. So they want to scrutinize you and make sure they are not bringing a criminal into their country, okay? So we have come to the end of today's video. Please tell me in the comments which of these mistakes surprised you. Which of these mistakes have you made or have you seen someone make, and how did it affect them? Please tell me in the comments. Also, if you apply for your student visa in 2025, you apply anytime soon, please let me know if you have any questions in the comments, and I will try my best to address them in my next video. Thank you so much for watching my video. Thank you for sticking up until now. If you're new here, hello. Welcome to the community. Over here, we talk about everything migration, everything lifestyle, everything life in Australia, okay? If you're an OG, lovely to have you back. Thank you so much for riding with me, for sticking with me. I really appreciate you. Please do not forget to like, do not forget to subscribe, do not forget to be a part of this community. Do not also forget to turn on that notification so that when I post a video, you're going to be the first to get notified. Okay, thank you so much for riding with me, and until next time, bye.